anyone who's been in business for more than about 5 minutes knows, over time we do lose customers for a whole range of reasons. Therefore, we need to focus on those customers and specifically on how we manage them. So what is CRM? Obviously it is a TLA or a 3-letter acronym, but what is it really? It stands for either customer relationship management, client relationship management. Some people put more of the focus on the data, so customer or client record management. So all of those things, and they are much of a muchness. So that's what CRM as the acronym is. However, what CRM really is that umbrella or that philosophy of how an organization looks after its people from those very, very early days of marketing, brand awareness, right the way through to sale, repeat sale, and in a few cases becoming a raving advocate of your business. And it gives you the ability to have a process or a series of processes so that the whole organization is singing from the same hymn sheet. And that is what is pretty much key. Yes, it is supported by technology. It would be almost impossible in the modern world to implement a CRM solution that didn't have technology as a part of it. And what I do professionally is working with one of those technologies. And that's one out of about 400. Getting CRM right also helps us with customer experience management or customer engagement management. And it does that largely in 2 ways. It enables the people within our business to have processes so that they can understand and access all of the data about a client. And this is where the singing from one hymn sheet comes in. Once you've got a CRM solution, you don't get into the situation, and I'm sure we've all experienced it with larger organizations, many of whom will have what they call a CRM technology in place, but they are lacking the processes around it. So you phone up an organization and you're unable to get an answer because the right person is not available, or the person you spoke to previously about the question, the challenge, whatever it might be, is on leave, so please phone back on Monday. And so it goes on. So they are organizations who've got the technology, but they are lacking the process element and the people buy-in to their overall CRM solution. What the technology gives us is what is called a 360-degree view of a customer. And you could visualize that as if we had a customer standing in the middle, walking all the way around in a circle. That is that 360-degree view. How that translates is the system presents to us information about all of the interactions, not only that I or you as an individual had with that person, but all of the interactions that all of your colleagues have had over a period of time. And also not only how this particular sale or query or whatever it might be has progressed, but you're able to see all of the other sales queries, interactions, whatever they might be. That's why it's known as a 360-degree view of the customer. And consequently, it is sales and marketing and service, and it's making all of that available so that everybody can use all of that information. Now, in a smaller business, typically not all of that is relevant, but it is quite surprising how often you will have aspects of your business that do touch more on marketing processes and service or support or that sort of area rather than sales. CRM is absolutely not exclusively for sales. And what a true CRM does is focuses on interactions. And an interaction is fundamentally a correspondence between usually one, but it could be more than one, member of your organisation with one or more members of your prospect, client, customer organisation. So a true CRM should enable you to record and manage phone calls, record and manage emails, record and manage meetings, and a whole heap of other interactions. And they should then track into the relevant sale, typically called an opportunity, or the relevant customer service issue. Wrapped around all of that, we should then have analytics. And that enables us to drive reporting off all of that data. And that is one of the areas where a small business can benefit, because when you move to having this centralized data store, you can then have reports that cut across the whole organization. So I am absolutely not looking at selling any of you any particular CRM technology. Yes, I do have deep expertise in one of approximately 400 of the CRM technologies out there. But what is absolutely key is that you get to the bottom of your requirements in order to service your people and your processes with a technology. Those vendors who go all out with you must have blah-de-blah CRM, typically because I've got blah-de-blah CRM and it works for me, therefore without understanding anything in your business, I believe it will work for you. Or worse still, I'm a vendor for blah-de-blah CRM and I will get some commission if you buy blah-de-blah CRM. So why should I worry about your particular needs? What matters is my commission. And there's far too much of that going on, where those initial early stages of working out client needs are leapfrogged because people jump straight to the technology. And I think in a 10-minute presentation, that is probably about all we have got time for. This is something I could talk on for hours. More than happy to take questions.
How agile is a CRM? So you and I have spoken with regard to property CRMs, which is very specific. How adaptable are they to what industry fields does it cover?
Okay. The answer to that is it varies. There's over 400 technologies that will call themselves CRM, of which there's probably half a dozen that most of you will have heard of most of that half dozen, and most of you will have not heard of most of the other 400 and odd that are out there. In terms of how agile they are, it definitely varies. Having said that, what I have observed in the 17 or so years that I've been working with the product that I now work with, and probably a further decade working with other products, is that where you do an awful lot of customization, that is where the project fails. It's quite interesting that, particularly in the smaller business end, if you buy one of the very simple solutions that is really, this is what you get, and you don't pay very much, and you just work with it, they tend to be fairly successful. Those technologies are never going to do everything, including the washing up. They do what they say they will do. There are others that are barely more than a programming language, and you can have whatever you want, but they are pretty much always a lot more expensive to implement. And absolutely, if you don't get your requirements right up front, you will develop something that works now for this little bit of your business, but as soon as you want it to do this little bit as well, something was probably done down here to make it impossible.
What would be the estimated time frame? So for example, using me as a startup, and I want to set up a property CRM where I've got to store property listings for sale, all these clients, etc., etc. What is the atypical process? And I realise it's a very broad question.
It is a very broad question, and the honest answer is how long is a piece of string? Because some of it will come down to what data and in what form do you have available. So if we imagine that you are absolutely ready to go with a CRM, so all of your current customers were in an Excel spreadsheet or in Outlook or in an accounting package or in something where we could just do a download, export and import, and equally all of your current properties were in something where the same download and import could be done, and you really didn't want much out of the box, we could probably do it in a couple of days. It is extremely unusual to have somebody who is that ready and prepared to go with a close to vanilla situation. Usually what happens is they'll see it and then they'll say, but can it also do, it would be good if, can you change that? And of course, every one of those questions puts a little bit more on the timeline. So I think, being honest, you're probably looking at a minimum of a week of effort from somebody like me, minimum, and that is probably going to be spread over a month, because things like, if you want to do it cost effectively, you sorting out your existing data, you designing some of the reports and so on will be a lot more cost effective than getting someone like me to do it all for you.
So do you actually have a program that you market?
Oh, absolutely.
And because I'm looking at CRMs and some of them are extremely expensive and complicated. Let's say your system, how does that compare to say Zoho or something?
Okay. The system that I work with primarily and work with is Microsoft Dynamics 365. It will support right the way up to the big end of town. And one of the reasons why, apart from answering this question, I didn't put that in, is I suspect that it is probably too big and too expensive for most people here. Now, maybe, maybe not. It is certainly more expensive than Zoho.
Is it as expensive as Salesforce?
No, it's about half of Salesforce. But Zoho is less again. But it is worth looking at it because in general, with software, as in pretty much anything else in life and business, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So, and another thing that is well worth considering with, and this applies to any software product, and William and Luke can probably back me up on this one. When you are budgeting for a software product, so it could be CRM, it could be a website, it could be payroll with William, it could be any of the things that Luke does. There are 5 areas of budget that you need to consider, and your software licensing is only one of the 5. So just so you've got them, the complete 5 are hardware. What hardware do you need to buy in order to make this solution work? Software licenses, implementation, and typically implementation is the big one. So that's what I was talking about earlier when we say working out your needs and so on. User training, and that one often just gets ignored. And ongoing support. So what are your ongoing costs for the next 2 or 5 years? Now, some of those numbers may well be 0, and if they are, great. That makes life a bit easier for you. But if you're not going to get bitten on the proverbial by something down the track, you need to make sure that you've got a number against all 5 of those. And then your total is what you're looking at paying. A mistake I see a lot of people making is they say, well, product X is $20 per user per month. Product Y is $25 per user per month. So we'll go with X because it's cheaper. Well, no, it's cheaper on 1 out of the 5 those 5 line items. If we haven't worked out what the other 4 are, we don't know which is cheaper overall. And it could easily not be the one that's cheaper on the license costs.
So focus on some like small business accounting softwares like MyOps, Zero, and others. The CRM, actually there are some CRM that claim they integrate, but from your experience, how well are they integrated?
Again, it does vary, and some of them integrate extremely well. One of the beauties of the Microsoft Dynamics product, the one that I typically work with, is that it has been designed with integration in mind. But that will not be true. When we're dealing with a set of 400 softwares that vary from a dollar cost, a license cost of 0, up to at the top end, we are probably easily looking at 5,000 or 10,000 per user per year. That is a vast array. Anybody who gave you an answer and implied that it was true for this vast array is lying. It is that simple.
Is it worth mentioning some of the names, like Rosa said, that people might recognise and just...
I can mention them, but my deep expertise is within Dynamics 365. So other than general conversations, I would not be helping you with any technologies other than those. But yes, there are a large number of CRM solutions. Zoho is certainly one. Salesforce is probably the other big one. And I think probably Salesforce and Dynamics between them have got the lion's share of the business market at the moment.
Can we maybe, can you share with us, like a company like ours, for example, is already using implemented a CRM for years now, but can you maybe just share to everybody like what is the application of CRM into a sales organization, or how to get sales how to get leads, what's the benefits of using marketing, and how does that can actually affect the business and grow the business in terms of the benefits of using a CRM instead of not having one?
Any true CRM will enable you to have a sales process pretty much the same as the one that is there on the slide. In other words, you start with a lead, and a lead is a very early stage, somebody who's stumbled across your website, but they've obviously done something by way of an interaction so that you know of them. And that typically would be a download or an inquiry for which they have given you a name and probably an email
Or a
address.
phone call, maybe.
A phone call, obviously you would then get the name and a phone number and so on. Once that has moved a little bit, and in my opinion it is only a very little bit, we set that up as what is called an opportunity or a potential sale. And we then use that and work that opportunity working with the client, and of course that working with the client is creating lots and lots of interactions. Every time we phone that client, every time we email them, or of course they phone us, they email us, they send us a letter, we have a meeting with them, whatever. Each of those is an interaction. Within the software itself, as that sale progresses, we'll be recording further data. And as we get that, typically it would be product or service related. So the more we understand the problem that this particular client has, the more data we've got and the more we can pick and choose our products and services to solve that particular client's problem. As we go through that, we will create a quote, and typically the trigger for that is the prospect saying, this all sounds very good, but how much will it cost? And so we work out how much it will cost by looking at the products and services, time and so on, that client needs from us and our team to solve the problem. We'll then take that further when the client says, yeah, really like what you're talking about, and price seems fair. At that point, the client has placed an order with us. The client has said, in some way, shape or form, let's proceed. We then work through the order, and obviously how we do that, it could be anything from getting the product that we've sold them, sticking it in a post pack and sending it to them, to a lot of ordering on our part from our suppliers, through to what do we do to go from a nice idea for this kitchen to having a kitchen that we can hand over to them that works, and so on and so forth. And we then create an invoice so that we've got money in the bank and we can go and do the whole thing all over again. One of the things that a CRM solution will do is take the information through that process. So everything that you find out at the lead stage, you can also use an opportunity through to invoice. And the same goes for what you find out at opportunity, carries forward, and so on and so forth. So it's all about having information available that supports your processes.
Guys, maybe it's opportune that for further information, just have a great coffee catch up with Jill. Could be more specific on as I will. Any other quick questions for Jill before we? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on time, which is great. So, any starting from Chris? Just joking. Referrals, testimonials, anyone?
Yeah, I had one referral Michael is not coming anymore, right? The solar guy?
No, it seems that, yeah, he's on the...
He's gone.
He's gone.
I had sorry.
Was there a first still hanging out there?
Yeah. I had one referral for him and he had one referral for me and then it closed business to him actually.
You have to.
So I have to fill that in. And thank you for close business to Mr. Ian as well. Thanks so much. I don't know if you fill that for referral, so that's a